Good afternoon and welcome to this video presentation. What I have here are some measurements inside my car, and the first one is just the 8-inch speakers by themselves, and the green pair at the top, left and right measurements, and the near field area of the speakers, say an inch away from the speakers. And I've actually tuned this to my ideal crossover slope, so these other ones are in different positions for measuring your speakers. So nothing changed, the EQ didn't change, just the position of the microphone. This blue pair is the spherical measurement technique, and you can look that up somewhere in my channel. There'll be a few videos about that. And the left, or the lighter color in all these pairs, is left side always. So light blue is left spherical measurement. And you can see it only differs from the right hand side in this one little area, around 78 to 80 hertz. So not a big deal here, only looking at say maximum 4 or 5 dB, and you probably couldn't even feel that or notice that in that split. And going on to the red and pink pair, pink being left hand side wavy face, which is a moving mic technique around the head, using the microphone and just moving it around your head. And the right is the right hand speaker group, same waved area. Now with wavy face there's a lot of differences, say 4 to 5 dB throughout that bass range, and then they swap somewhere after 80 hertz and measure alternatively hotter on the right hand side. And this is given that we've tuned the two speakers to be exactly the same at near field. So right away you can see that if you're tuning your left hand speaker, you would be turning down those frequencies in that lower bass region, and you'd be turning down on the right hand side above 80. Still not a lot of difference here, because some people cross them over pretty steep, and you might feel that you need to keep adjusting your bass to get these two areas centered. Plus you'll change the phase from this group to this group of octaves, but that also can be counteracted by timing, but you won't get the homogeneous solid centers that I believe we can get using the near field technique and somewhat the spherical technique. Now I will admit, in the past tuning the bass has been one of the difficulties with spherical technique. So anywhere past, the mid bass, spherical does give you a nice pleasing center, and near field to me gives you a really locked in tonal and stereo tightness. So here's just a good comparison of the techniques together, and now I'll move on to the next group. So here we have the 6-inch driver in my 5-way car system. Once again, the green line pair is the near field measurements, and previously corrected to the ideal crossover for this range from this speaker, and then measured after that, of course. So the variance is here just from mic placement, stuff like that. So we're using this as the benchmark to now look at the rest of the pairs. So moving on to spherical pair, which is blue, light blue and dark blue. Now interesting thing here, have not been able to confirm this, but the left hand spherical is quite a good comparison to near field. Maybe a little bit less here in the bass, slight scoop here and there, but pretty much the same. But it's consistency that I'm looking at. Now on the right hand side, this little fall down in the 250 to 350, can't really say what it is, but I'm about to offer you a theory about it. So we're looking at, say, 4 dB changing up to about 2 or 3 dB here, and that relates to the fact that wavy face also has this dip here and holding for, but showing a little bit different here in this upper area. But at least here in the 250, wavy face also has this 250 cancellation. So here's my theory. On the left spherical and the right spherical being identical symmetrical measurements of a 6-inch driver that is exactly the same distance, because spherical uses the same distance to the driver. The difference could be the proximity to the human body and the human body shielding or absorbing certain frequencies. So the right hand spherical is influenced by me because I'm sitting right there. I'm in a right hand drive vehicle, and the left and right wavy face technique is also being influenced by the human body. So I'm just throwing that out there. So moving on to the wavy face, you can see it's holding quite a consistent shape on the right hand wavy face, say 3 something all the way up to the 1K target. Maybe a bit of a dulling out in that towards the 700 to 1K. But yeah, the left hand wavy face is where all the action happens. You could say the not so good action. So lots of cancellations come into wavy face from the furthest group, so the left hand group in a right hand drive vehicle. These cancellations will be different to your geometries, but you can see it's very hard to try and use wavy face to get a nice consistent stereo tightness. And then the problems with normal EQ again come into play, moving your sense of depth away and in front of you compared to the other side. So that's that pair. And here we have the high-mid measurements. So once again, green is near field measurements, measured to fit the crossover slope that we needed for that particular speaker. The range here is after 1K hitting up to 3K and sort of falling down. What we can see here, we'll first look at spherical. There's not a lot of difference. I'm calling that 2 or 3 dB. You can sort of maybe say that's pulling things left and right, and if you got the bulk of this, you could say that's the bulk, and then you could balance it with your ears, and then those two would look flat, and then but you'd still have this pulling away throughout the crossover, maybe some extra heat coming on the left there, but you'd be turning that down if you were tuning with spherical, so you'd get a little bit of a push up on the right. Now moving on to wavy face, you can see here the right hand side is not too bad, and we're going to give that a solid 8 for conformity, and with the slopes here pretty much matching the targets here, but then falling off in this region, like not holding that flat top, as you can see to the green. So a bit of different behavior in the base, and you'd be turning that up. And the left hand side has this more pronounced, so whether it's more omnidirectional mic cancelling or whether it's absorption, can't really tell. But yeah, a fair old scoop here. If you're drawing a line from here to there and then here to there, you'd say 1, 2, 3 at most. A pull, you'd turn that up. So if you're wavy facing, you'd hear a push up in that. What's that say? 1.5K. But yeah, not too much dramas here. Just a way different scenario. Like in general, it'd be hotter on the left because you'd be turning it up, and yet here they're the same. And this to me is centered. So this is all relative measurement comparisons. Now let's move on to the tweeter. But before we move on to the tweeter, I'd just like to add, I did another video where I added all this 700 to 900, and then I heard it, to me, sounding a bit honky when a vocalist sang through this range, and then it got really honky and hot and then back down. And that we saw that on the last pair, the 6-inch as well, because there was a lot more fall off going on, so there'd be a lot more boosting going on. So this would be getting with wavy face boosting and a little bit the same with spherical as well. So yeah, we're avoiding the boost, we're getting a natural sound with near field. So here we have the tweeters. I haven't color coded these yet, but they're all very separate. Anyway, so the top two near field and the left and right is neither here nor there, so I didn't bother continuing. That yellow though in the wavy face, that's the right. So the right had a lot more of this concentration at 3.8 K, and the left didn't. The left starts falling away at below 4.3, and it's a good difference too. So you'd be tuning this up a bit, you'd be tuning that relatively down, so there's another imbalance. And also I've noticed this mainly in this tweeter group, but here's the near field tone for the tweeters, and yet in spherical and wavy face it even changes from spherical to wavy face a tiny bit, that angle, just only a tiny bit. So with wavy face you'd be turning your tweeters up this much. Well, so I've got a match here, so you'd be turning them up that much in the shelving. Also a little bit too with spherical. So I have been liking the near field naturality of the treble. I sometimes put a bit of this shelf back in just to see how it goes, but I never go to the full amount. So that full amount, could say was 6 to 8 by the time you hit 20, or 10 by the time you hit 20. Let's just verify that now. Yeah, so a good 10 added, and I found it to be a bit overbearing when you're adding the full 10 and then adding 5 or 6. It depends on the song. So yeah, bright songs you just leave it to this natural tune. And I've also tried, you might have seen other videos where I tried some different preamps and virtual preamps and saturation in the tweeters, and the final result, long story short, I preferred it without. So yeah, that's that. Not too much drift between the left and rights. So this is interesting, even with wavy face. That tweeter is a long way away, but all things considered equal, on the right hand side the tweeter does fall away by the time it gets to your head in the same amount. So there's an interesting take for that one. And lastly I have the substage, and I kept this one to the end because no matter where you put the microphone in the car, the sub will measure pretty much the same. And when I say pretty much, let's have a quick look. I'm zooming right in here on the Y axis, and it actually flips around, so let's make it 1 dB. Yep, that's better. Each line is 1 dB. Wavy face and spherical, so we're calling that, say, 50 centimeters hemisphere away from the subs, and this is, the red line is at the headrest around the head, is actually hotter than holding the mic right near the sub. So I'm holding that right near the back seat. So the sub is just behind the back seat cushion, and probably makes sense because the waves and the pressure hasn't propagated enough around the seat to cause the same SPL, but still it's only 2 dB here and there. And the other thing, maybe just we could take a quick look as we go up through 20 Hertz to 30 Hertz, you can see that the wavy face starts to slip away quite considerably at let's just pick 25, 26 Hertz, 80 dB on wavy face, and 75. So it starts getting hotter in the microphone for wavy face the further you go up the frequency range, but then comes back together by the time you hit 40. So really it's just a bit of sub difference, and you tune that down in wavy face and it'd sound louder if you tuned it with near field or spherical. But that was that, just a quick one. You can see it a bit more pronounced. Alright, that about wraps it up, and all I'm suggesting is you give these different measurement systems a go, and you can actually notice more stereo depth, more imaging, and things like reverb, and the idea of space becomes more apparent. And this is based on you hearing the direct sound more than you hear the pressure and the resultant things that microphones tell you, because microphones are showing you a result of not just one reflection, but like 360 degrees in the vertical and the horizontal everywhere. So it's literally thousands of things coming into that microphone to bring down points in the graph. Then you're believing it, and then you turn them up. Whereas we only really hear things coming from the direction we have put the speakers. Alright, over and out.